few other volunteers. Oh, in the back and in the middle. Yes.
Hi, my name is Rosa. Years of service is going to be 30 in July. I've been here for a while. I can always learn something new and meet new faces. I see a lot of new faces. I met Mr. Villarreal right here in housing. So it's a great opportunity to meet new people and learn new stuff all the time.
Thank you, Rosa. So your hands in the middle. You can raise your hands if you want.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I work in the Chavs Dean's office. Been here for about 4.5 years. And what I hope to get out of it is like exactly what everyone else said, meet new people, learn new things, but also appreciate that we do have a professional development opportunity. So thank you to the Staff Center Conference Planning team.
One last person, anybody? Anybody want to wrap it up for us? Okay. Oh, did I take over?
Let's do it together.
You can do it too.
Come on, Melinda. All right.
So my name is Crystal Davis and I work at UP, and oftentimes I get to email a lot of you, and it's wonderful to get to see faces. So this is a great opportunity for us as staff to have this space to share, and I'm really excited to get to meet all of you at some capacity, and I'm just looking forward for the day. And thank you for the breakfast. I really needed that this morning.
Hi, and I'm representing Community Relations University Engagement. I've been here for almost 13 years, and I was looking to get out of the day-to-day headspace and to connect with peers and colleagues, because I'm up on the 6th floor of the admin building, which is very lonely, but. And with UPT, I've only got one kid on campus.
Oh.
So. It's okay. I paid it. So thank you for giving us this opportunity to South Carolina. And thank you to our keynote.
Yeah.
Thank you all for sharing.
Nice to meet you.
We definitely appreciate hearing from our staff. It's really important that we continue to bring community together, right? And know each other. I think most of us know each other virtually, but the connection's still there, right? Okay, Noella.
All right, continuing on. We are so grateful to each of you for joining us for this first ever conference. Some logistics on your table. You can refer to the agenda and session details by using the QR code provided. We'd also like to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of our breakout session presenters. Thank you very much.
Round of applause.
Your willingness to share your knowledge, experience, and expertise helps create a meaningful learning environment for all staff in attendance today. We truly appreciate you, and a very special thank you to Vice President Leon Wyden of FAS for being an incredible partner as the committee navigated putting together this conference and making it a reality for all staff. He's not here today, but his contributions have not gone unnoticed. We'd also like to extend a thank you to the Staff Center Director, Susan O'Connor. Thank you, Susan, for your support along the way. Although President Neufeld is unable to join us in person today, we are very honored that she made a special video message for all of us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Professional Development Conference. I am so excited that you're taking part in this. I'm also excited to welcome you, even if it's by video. I am also doing professional development today. I'm at Chico State, where all the presidents have gathered for our annual summer Professional Development Conference. We're all working together to learn together and have a time to really serve our campuses and our students better. So know that I'm with you in spirit. But I also want to take a moment right now to just thank you all. What you do for our students, our community, and each other. You know, I think about it when I think about graduation. It was so exciting to watch those students walk across the stage. But I want you to know that I also noticed how well the chairs were lined up. The IT, all the people that volunteered and were working in every aspect to make sure our graduates and their family had an amazing experience. That's what you did that day, and that's what you do every day, wherever you sit at this university. And I want you to know that I notice, and I so appreciate it. I'm also excited that you get to hear from our alum, Michelle Gonzalez, the CEO of TrueCare. She has partnered with this university for a long time, making sure that together we're uplifting lives in our community. She, just like you, really work together to make sure for the very best what you're doing for our students matters. And I want you to know how much I appreciate it. So please enjoy today and each other. And I really look forward to seeing you on campus soon.
And now, on behalf of the Staff Center Committee, it's our pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Michelle Gonzalez is a proud CSU alum, as well as being president and CEO of TrueCare. She's built a career rooted in purpose, service, and growth. From her time as a student here at Cal State San Marcos to leading a major organization, Michelle's journey is one of resilience, heart, and impact. She will share how an unexpected opportunity turned into a 2-decade leadership journey, along with valuable lessons she's learned along the way. Please join us and give Michelle a warm welcome and round of applause.
So I took the $400, and as I was making my way to the university driving, I was praying, God, please help me figure out how to make this money stretch beyond what I know it can do. Please help me find a job. I gotta figure this out because my mom can't afford to keep supporting me. So as I arrived to campus, it was my first time coming alone, without a friend and without being part of a crowd, without being part of a tour or a school field trip. I had my $400 in my bag, and when I arrived on campus, I was a wreck. I was lost, I was sweating, I was, frazzled, and immediately started thinking, I don't belong here. Why am I here? I can't even get my stuff together to get the books that I need to buy. Well, lo and behold, as I was making my way from the very bottom parking lot, I think even before it was paved, there was an amazing gentleman who saw me struggling and knew that I was a little frazzled, and he gave me a ride. And this is the first example of where the keepers, they always come in clutch, and that day they did not disappoint. So the gentleman from the facilities department, I talked to him a little bit. He gave me another tour of the campus. That should tell you how discombobulated I was, because back in 1998, there wasn't that much here, right? And I was still frazzled and lost. He gave me another tour, helped me sort of reorient myself, and then he dropped me off at parking services and saved me a lot of walking. The gentleman at the parking services, he put me on a payment plan. Thank you, because I couldn't afford to pay for my parking permit. I don't even know if that was allowed, but we worked it out. It was a good thing. And then I made my way over to the bookstore. And then that's where I met a woman by the name of Melinda. And she said, hey, are you doing okay? You look a little lost. And I said, yeah, I'm trying to find the bookstore. She said, follow me, I can help you. As we're walking, she says, by the way, are you looking for a job? Yes, I am looking for a job. I am absolutely looking for a job. And she said, great, if you work at the bookstore, you actually get first dibs on the used books, and you even get a discount on top of that. Suddenly, my 2 prayers had been answered. And I realized, I always get emotional when I tell this. I realized in that moment that this university would change my life. And I was forever grateful for all of the people up until that point who had helped me. I found my books, I was able to get all of them for the money that I had left. I did make all my payments for the parking permit, don't worry. I think it would have been more expensive. And as I was talking with Melinda, she said, you know, the only bad thing about this job is that it's only for the rush. After that, like, you won't have a job. But my sister, Melanie, she works at the Dome. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know what the Dome is. What is the Dome? She said, it's the cafeteria. And I was like, oh, do I get to eat if I work there? And she said, yeah, you get free food. Oh my gosh, one blessing after another. So I come from very humble beginnings, obviously. And this university has made a tremendous impact on my life. That night when I got home, I told my mom all about my adventures. We cried together. I told her about all of my triumphs. And it was the keepers who almost 30 years ago helped me put things in line so that I could be a thriving student here at this university. And as the youngest of 7 kids, that night when I talked to my mom, the pride that I saw on her face, knowing that her youngest child would be the first to attend a 4-year university and graduate, that is a look of pride that you never forget. Back then, those keepers 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, I suspect that they suffered from a lot of the same trials and tribulations that you do today. But like you, they stayed the course and they continue to focus on supporting and aiding students. Students like me who were dreaming of something better. My first year here at Cal State San Marcos was amazing, but make no mistake about it, it was difficult, but I acclimated. But we know that most things don't last forever. Hard times, moments of exhaustion, whatever we may be experiencing, it doesn't last forever. Any more than moments of abundance will. Everything runs its course. But the key question is, after we endure whatever it may be, who are we when we get to the other side? One of the biggest falsehoods that we are told, I believe, in our professional lives is that if we work just a little harder, put in just a few more hours, and sleep just a little less, if we care just a little bit more, the system will eventually catch up with us. The system will eventually reward us. But when I look around this room, I don't see a lack of care or dedication. I see a room full of people, of professionals, of keepers who at times feel like they are running on empty. Because some of you might care too much. I genuinely wish that there was a quick action plan that I could distribute on how to do more with less, or how to squeeze more hours out of the day, or how to fill those vacant positions that need to be filled, how to pass the budget that needs to be passed. But I don't have any of that. And over the last 23 years of my career and in my constant pursuit of inspiration, I have learned what inspiration is not. And I have learned that inspiration is not believing that everything will be perfect tomorrow. Instead, it's knowing that what we are doing, the work that we are performing in a challenging environment, it matters. That's where we can draw inspiration from. Something that I believe that doesn't receive enough emphasis is the fact that we always have a choice. We may not like the choices in front of us, but there is always a choice. And we are constantly tasked with making tough decisions despite the fact that circumstances are less than ideal. And so often our choices get clouded with information and worries and anxieties that never come to pass. There was a study that I read about in preparation for today. It was by someone by the name of Dr. Robert Leahy, and he published a book that was titled The Worry Cure: 7 Steps to Stop Worry from Stopping You. Ooh, that sounds interesting. And as part of his study, participants were followed for an extended period of time, and their deepest worries and anxieties were tracked. And the data was staggering. 85% of things that we stress over never come to pass. Even our obsessive stressing doesn't manifest our worst anxieties into reality. Think about that. And can we just pause and agree for a moment that it's not the work itself that's exhausting, it's that mental aerobics that we do, those mental rehearsals that we have in our mind about the what ifs, and the endless trying to figure out, the endless rehearsals that we do in our mind, and the endless time that we spend trying to figure out what if this happens, what if that happens, things that we have absolutely no impact on. Well, this study also looked at the remaining 15%, because I know some of you are saying, hey, Michelle, that's only 85%. Well, the remaining 15% of those worst case scenarios that did happen, when a crisis did hit, when an IT system did crash, when there was a budget cut, when there was no raise, when those worst case scenarios came to pass, they found that 79% of people handled the fallout far better than they ever thought that they could. Many of them even walked away with a lesson or an unexpected outcome that if given the chance, they wouldn't take back. So if you do the math, that means that 97% of us in this room are completely safe from our worst fears, or at least we are strong enough to withstand them. Each and every one of you are an expert survivalist. You have survived 100% of your toughest days. So, turn to the person on your left, turn to the person on your right, and give them a high five, because you survived. Yes. 1, 2, 3. Oh, look at, they did that 3 times. Good job, ladies. I like that. Yes. It does something to your mind when you put things into perspective that way, doesn't it? So let's go back to choice for just a moment, because we always have a choice. And we can either give in to our fears and our anxieties and those circumstances, and we can just accept them and accept that that's how things are going to be, or we can figure out how to survive and even thrive in spite of our fears, our anxieties. And this is something that I know all too well. Very frequently I am asked, Michelle, how did you become a CEO? Well, luckily for me, I'm here with 150 of my closest friends, so I'll tell you the secret. I am an accidental CEO. Truly, I am. I had been working, before TrueCare was TrueCare, at North County Health Services, NCHS as we refer to it, for almost 20 years. And mind you, while I ended up in healthcare, I had no intention of being in healthcare. I graduated in '03 with a bachelor's in communication and a minor in sociology, not even remotely close to healthcare. I started working at NCHS as a program assistant when I was just a few months shy of graduating. And upon graduation, I gave myself a year to find a real job, because now I had a real degree. Well, all of the jobs that I was landing were in San Ysidro, in Chula Vista, and this was right around the time that gas prices were spiking to $3 a gallon. Right? My gosh, can you remember that? And so any raise that I would have received would have went right to my gas tank. So if I didn't find a job in that year, I was going to join the Air Force, believe it or not. I didn't join the Air Force, obviously. But I did go on to have a prosperous and thriving career at NCHS. And fast forward 17 years later to 2020, January 2020, I was approached by the board chair at the time. He came to me and he said, Michelle, we need you to step in on an interim basis as president and CEO. My predecessor had gone out on an unexpected leave of absence. He promised me that they would be doing a national search, which I fully supported and endorsed. Unbeknownst to us, the coronavirus was starting to brew. You remember that time. And as the months went on, it was late March, and by that time the pandemic was in full swing. And I went back and I checked in with the board chair and I said, hey, how's that national search going? Are you guys making any headway? And he came to me and said, about that, you don't don't realize it, but you've been on a 3-month-long job interview. And we've met and we've discussed, and the board has unanimously decided that we'd like to appoint you as president and CEO. I'm sorry, come again? With my good ear, what was that? So naturally, I went back and I spoke to my husband and I said, thank you, I need some time to think about that. Instantaneously, I felt completely inadequate. I was riddled with imposter syndrome. I kept saying, what am I doing? What if I tank the company? What if I can't be successful? What if? What if I fail? And then my husband said, yeah, but what if you don't? What if you just keep doing what you've been doing that made them want you to be CEO to begin with? What if you stay grounded in who you are? What if you just stay true to your faith, our family, and the mission? Such wise words. When I finally stopped fighting my fears and the things that I couldn't control, and I leaned into what I could control, and really at the end of the day, the only thing that I could control was me, I gained so much clarity, and I realized that while I couldn't control anything beyond me, I could have influence. And after that, my entire outlook changed. Now, to be clear, my stress, my anxiety, my fear, it never went away fully. But I did find joy in those very early days, in the most trying times. I did find joy in being a brand new CEO who was navigating a pandemic, who had absolutely no idea what she was doing. Because I stopped fighting the 85%. I stopped giving into the what ifs, and I accepted that I had no control. And I started conserving my energy for the real battles that were right in front of me, the things that I could influence. And I stopped being angry about the circumstances of the world and whatever I believed led us there. And I quit waiting for the Calvary to arrive because it wasn't coming. We were the Calvary. Instead, I made the choice to trust in my team and to stay true to who I was, even on my toughest days. And that was important because that tragic 15% that we all know can happen, it did. We had to close clinics temporarily. We had to furlough staff. I even had to cut positions. But I had to maintain that positive outlook. Otherwise, I knew I wasn't going to make it. And guess what? Even when we had to close clinics, even when we had to lay off staff, even when we had to furlough folks, we endured. We survived. We made it to the other side. And I'm so proud to share with you that in the first 5 years of my tenure, and together with my team, TrueCare has more than doubled our operational budget. We're now at $155 million. We've opened 11 new clinics and counting. We have more on the horizon. We've escalated our patient numbers to 70,000 patients annually. We've nearly doubled the number of patient visits that we render. We will surpass 400,000 visits this year. We've doubled our workforce. We are now 1,000 true heroes, as we refer to them, 1,000 true heroes strong. We rebranded in the face of the pandemic and transitioned to a gold standard health record known as EPIC. We tripled our mobile fleet. We launched countless new programs and continue to do so, programs like street medicine and lifestyle medicine. And we have thriving partnerships, so many of them with Cal State San Marcos. We've maintained a retention rate with our clinicians of 95%, and the latest employee opinion survey that we just launched had a 90% satisfaction rate. We are not a perfect organization, but we are a thriving organization. Cal State is not a perfect university, but it is a thriving university because of each and every one of you. The successes that I described to you and the successes that you all experience, they're not made up and they're not whimsical. They're a result of individuals who provide compassionate, forward-thinking solutions, and at TrueCare, compassionate, high-quality care. And I know that both the university and TrueCare are completely dedicated to creating a sense of belonging, inclusion, and resilience. And at TrueCare, we achieved all of those outcomes during some of our most daunting circumstances. When moments of despair, lack of resources, and burnout were rampant. Toxic positivity and tragic optimism. You see, in my very early months as CEO, I learned very quickly that the benefit of toxic positivity was zero. Instead, I embraced something called tragic optimism. Tragic optimism is a psychological framework that's coined by Viktor Frankl, and it's defined as the search for meaning amid the inevitable difficulties of life. How incredibly fitting. Toxic positivity says good vibes only. I say no thank you, and you can shove that where the sun doesn't shine, because no matter how positive you are, the difficult and the hard and the trying is still there. So instead, I accepted tragic optimism. And it's this representation of gritty, resilient belief that life is inherently meaningful and that we can find purpose because of our struggles, not just in spite of them. Frankl argued that you can turn suffering into achievement, and we can use pain and struggle as a catalyst to grow, to create, and to help others. And he also argued that you can derive an opportunity to change for the better. We can take responsibility and transform ourselves and those around us. He also argued that you can find an incentive to take responsible action, recognizing that because life is short, our choices right now, they matter immensely. With this as my backdrop, I decided that I was going to be intentional about how I showed up in my workspaces and the outlook that I was applying. Because again, I knew the only thing that I could control was me. And with so much pain and suffering and chaos in the environment, I had to stay focused on the meaning of my work. I suspect that some of you feel the same way from time to time. And again, it's not the work itself, it's the mental load, right? It's the state of the world, the lack of resources, and the emotional drain that we feel. So, in that quest, since I became CEO early on, I have adopted a series of practices, and I tried to distill into a finite number that I could share with you today. So if you want to take some notes, feel free. The first one that I want to share with you is called the fingerprint law. So if you have something to write with, a piece of paper, take it out. This is just for you. You don't have to share this with anyone. And you're going to make a list. And science tells us that it is neurologically impossible to be both in a state of gratitude and a state of anxiety at the same exact moment. Both just cannot exist in our mind at the same time in the same space. So I want you to look backwards and create a list of all of your recent successes. Anything over the last year, the last 6 months, the last 90 days, the last 30 days. Anything that you got over the line, that you impacted directly or indirectly. Any activities, initiatives that you completed. Situations that you navigated. The fires that you put out that nobody even knew was burning. This is all about recognizing and giving credit where credit is due, for you. Now, if you're writing things down rapidly, fantastic. If you're not, that doesn't mean that you don't have successes. It either means you don't want to, which is fine, or it means that you probably need more practice in acknowledging when you do really great things, because I know that all of you do them all day long. This one intentional action can change your entire mindset. It gives you a pop of confidence, a dose of motivation, and it can be the catalyst to moving you into a state of productivity. So anytime that you are feeling down on yourself, I encourage you to make a list just like this, because it can absolutely change your state of mind. And then you have an opportunity to look back at all of the things that you've touched, all of the different places where your fingerprints have been. And I promise you, you'll be amazed. Number 2, you hear this all the time. Reprioritize constantly. Everything is important, but not everything is urgent. If you are constantly making everything a priority, nothing is a priority. It's just not possible. If your boss is constantly coming to you with one more thing and your plate is about to tip over, or if you are a supervisor or leader who's constantly going to your staff with one more thing, their plate's about to tip over. So I strongly encourage you to constantly reassess. Whatever that list is, you should be looking at that several times a week, at a minimum, and identifying what is no longer a top priority. Your list should be forever fluid and never static. And then one more tip on the constant reassessment of priorities is get clarity on what is sacred and what is sufficient. Sacred is anything where the stakes are really high and there's human touch needed, whether it's a crucial conversation, a meeting, a delicate email, those are sacred. And sufficient are things that are more bureaucratic and more tracking. If you do this religiously, I promise you, you will get to a point where you will be able to identify when good enough is good enough, and you can preserve your energy. Number 3, community care and accountability. If we let ourselves, we can run ourselves into the ground at work. We skip lunches, we don't fill up our tanks, and we pour from empty cups. And let's just be real. You cannot bubble bath and yoga your way out of burnout. That's just not gonna happen, that's not gonna work. So you need to safeguard your lunch breaks. You need to safeguard an opportunity to step away from your computer, to get some sunlight, to take a walk. And if you identify a buddy who will help you hold yourself accountable, you can make some really great strides. It is amazing what a 15-minute stretch or walk can do for you in the middle of your day. So if you haven't already, write down 2 to 3 names of a buddy who you can lean on, who will help you hold yourself accountable, and who you can help hold accountable as well. And then number 4, there's a difference between offering support and offering help. Most of you can't help each other in your work, but you can offer support. I can see that you're going through a lot. How can I support you? Just hearing those words can have a significant shift on us. Offering to get someone a cup of coffee or pick up lunch for them. Discussing a key initiative with someone and demonstrating public alignment. Responding to an email, a group email that everybody suddenly has gone quiet on when it's been a really important discussion. Demonstrating public affirmation can go a long way. And also, shutting down non-productive behaviors. It's to the benefit of your colleague to say, hey, listen, I've heard you now 4 days in a row talk about the same thing. It's not going to change. Why don't you go make a list? Yeah. It saves you from having to hear it again and can also help shift their mindset. So offering support, not help. There's a difference. These 4 things are not rocket science, but they can be very effective. And I will tell you that what I think has been my hardest period as CEO, it definitely came to a close. We survived the pandemic. But it was my approach that defined me. And as we talked about, seasons of hardship, they will end. And we always get to choose who we will be when the tide turns. So you can feel under-resourced and tired, and you can still be tragically optimistic. This can actually propel your resilience. But these are deliberate choices that you have to make. They're not easy, but neither is what you're doing right now. So pick your heart. I can't tell you when the resources that you need will arrive. And I will not insult your intelligence by suggesting that I even know exactly what you need, because I don't. But here is what I would submit. Look around this room. Look at the collective wisdom, the shared grit, the quiet and the loud dedication that is sitting next to you. The system that you're looking to for reprieve, the system didn't create that. You did. You created created that. You are the keepers. You keep the spirit of the university alive. You keep the traditions going. You keep the promises made to every student who walks onto this campus. Make no mistake, this institution thrives because of you. I want to end my time with you this morning talking a little bit about the redwood trees. In my experience, I have found that the most resilient teams are those that behave like the redwood trees. And for those of you that don't know, redwoods grow along the beautiful Northern California coast up into Oregon, I think. And redwoods can actually grow to be more than 350 feet tall. They survive massive storms, fires, and decades, if not centuries, of high winds. And when you think of trees that tall, you might automatically assume that the roots run really deep. Not the redwoods. Their roots actually are incredibly shallow, and they run no more than 6 to 12 feet below the ground. They remain strong because their roots grow outward, and they're intertwined with one another. And they create this amazing underground network where they essentially lock arms underneath. But a redwood cannot stand alone. It's structurally impossible. They survive because they are a collective network, because they are resilient. See, here's the thing that nobody talks about with resilience. We often overlook that when it comes to resilience, it's not about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward. Because back implies that you're going to return to who you were. But forward, that's something different. It means actually becoming restoration. It's evolution. You don't go back, you choose to go through. You choose to evolve. You choose to be different. Every storm, every fire, every season, every hardship only adds to the character and durability of the redwoods. I think you all are a lot like the redwoods. So as our time together comes to a close, I hope that you remember that 85% of what you worry about will likely never come to pass. And even if it does, you've already proven that you are an incredible survivalist. I hope that you remember the power of tragic optimism, that we can find purpose because of our struggles, not just in spite of them. And I hope that you remember that you don't have to carry anything alone. There is an active root system in this room that is strong and enduring. And I hope that you remember that when the winds blow and threaten to knock you down, you have the ability to lock arms and to continue to hold one another up. And I hope that you remember that you are the heartbeat that keeps this university alive. You are the keepers. Thank you.
Let's give Michelle a big round of applause. We do have a thank you gift for you, Michelle, so don't walk out too quickly.
Is this CSUSM Claire?
Yes.
My favorite.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here with us.
For the opportunity.
We are going to allow a few minutes if anyone wants to approach Michelle and ask a question before we break out into sessions. But thank you so much for sharing a very relatable story and experiences that you did that we all know can connect with that. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.